Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, it's Sunday night. It's time for another live stream. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the current DJI O4 situation, just to give you a bit of an update. There isn't a lot to say, but I do just want to talk about that a little bit and try and explain where we're at. We're going to talk about EdgeTX Fest, which is coming up this year. That is coming up in June, and I want to make sure everyone in the UK knows about that, because that's going to be very cool and interesting to see. We're going to talk about JB's video on tabless batteries. I really enjoyed that video, and I just want to talk about it a little bit. Nothing bad. Honestly, I watched it and just thought, what a great video that was. And not just about the video, but I really enjoyed the subject as well. And yeah, just cool, interesting, and some observations from JB's flights. And I'd love to have seen the battery under a thermal camera as well. I would have loved to have seen that. And then we're also going to talk about Caddx, because there's a few things to talk about with Caddx. There is new Ascent firmware, which I haven't tested yet. My plan is to test it this week. But we've also had a big drone trade show in China, and a bunch of stuff has been shown in this, predominantly from Caddx, and we're going to talk about that as well. Now, there is going to be a bit of extra noise tonight because I'm doing a 3D print test behind me. That is the FlashForge Creator 5. I'm in the middle. I've literally started testing this today. Bit of a weird situation with printers. For those who saw, I published the U1 review today after a month of testing. And that's taken nearly 3 weeks to get that over the line. Unfortunately, I had a situation where two printers turned up at the same time. Well, I say at the same time. This was a couple of weeks behind that. But what it's meant is I've had to literally bounce from one to the other. I'm not a 3D printing channel predominantly, but it does end up like that. Oh, my cup of tea has arrived. Let me just grab a lovely cup of tea for a nice Sunday. That's lovely tea. Particularly nice tea. So, we're going to talk about that as well. So, yeah, lot to talk about tonight. So, let me just move. I got a box under my feet. I am in utter chaos here in the workshop because of these two printers. I love doing printer reviews, but it does get a bit challenging. I sort of love it until I sort of have to go, oh my god, I've got to now put these somewhere. But yeah, look, it's something I do a bit of on the channel, and I also always try to put something in that you don't necessarily get from the other channels. For those who watched the Snapmaker review, that is such a good printer, and what a time for that printer. If you couldn't have marketed anything better than timing wise with regards to the crap going on with Bamboo and Snapmaker walking in and delivering. Honestly, talk about a home run, it's that. This sits somewhere different in this situation. I'm still investigating, but when it comes to GPL violations, this may be playing the same game as Bamboo. It's not confirmed, but there's parts of that make me think it is. Obviously, the Bamboo storm in a teacup is still rolling on with regards to the GPL stuff. You've got like a community, and I call it a storm in a teacup because the 3D printing community element of it is the teacup. You know, loads of people, absolute ravenous dogs over how evil Bamboo are for not publishing their plugin, which I do find slightly hypocritical when we start looking at companies like Creality and Elegoo, who appear to be massively in breach of GPL from a clipper perspective, let alone a plugin that they've created. There is a lot of hypocrisy around this, and look, the truth is, I've seen this stuff before. We've seen this with DJI. You get people completely obsessed and bent out of shape. And the problem is, it's like parts of the community can smell blood. You've got all the people now who have always wanted to find a reason to hate Bamboo, now use this as a reason. Oh my god, they are not complying with GPL because they haven't published a plugin which they built alongside the open source element. And I'm not saying it isn't right or correct, but in comparison to some of the GPL violations going on everywhere else in 3D printing, it is not even it's minuscule in comparison. And this is the funny thing. Now, there is then the A1 situation, which is more complex. There has been a steady stream of reports of A1 issues around issues in the power supply. The problem is with this stuff is we don't have context on volume. I believe there's over 200 initial reports, but if you think 200 on their sales numbers is still minuscule. And depending on where you stand on things will depend on your opinion on things going wrong. There is an argument, some people will say that if there's ever a risk of smoke, burning or fire, then they must recall it. And there is opinion that, well, wait a minute, how big or bad is it? There are levels of difference around this stuff. It isn't as simple as saying, oh my god, one has gone up, they must recall them all. And that isn't good for the person who is the one that's gone up. But in the context of things going wrong, electrical items can go wrong. It can result in pretty horrible outcomes. Though, to be said, again, I don't think Bamboo have handled this issue on the A1 particularly well either. I'm less concerned about the issue and more around the way they've handled the A1. Now, I've sort of sat on the side of this because I've never had an A1, I've not tested or recommended the A1. So for me, it's hard for me to comment. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But look, they're going through a tough time. Is it anything that hasn't been thrown at DJI when they introduced NFCs? Is it anything that hasn't been thrown at other companies? Not really. What I can tell you is this. Final comment on this. I this week waited a week and had a look at my view counts on my Bamboo videos to see if there's been any impact. Also, the comments on my existing Bamboo videos, not new ones, but ones that I've already run. And I've had a quick look at the affiliate side to see, have I seen any reduction? And I don't get a lot. I get like 2 clicks a day on average. That's not conversions, that's just clicks. And I've seen no change at all. So from the outside, I would say there's been little to zero impact on them in the real world over this. Are there people completely bent out of shape? Yes. But this is also a ravenous dog situation where people can smell blood. And the bit I don't like is everyone wants to pin it to them and not talk about Creality, Elegoo, and the others. Because if you're going to hold one company to account, you have to hold them all. You can't pick and choose who you hold to account. And here's something I found really interesting. Clipper is open source. They know manufacturers are completely violating AGPL, and they're not even willing to publish a list on their forums or Discord of the manufacturers who are compliant and who are not. They take the attitude of, we don't want to talk about any manufacturers. So you've even got situations like the Project Clipper isn't even willing to discuss who is in violation and who isn't. They just don't want you to talk about brands using the software, and instead they just want to talk about Voron and open systems, which is in itself part of the problem. Because if the project isn't going to shout and scream about issues, then what do we expect to happen? And look, I understand the AGPL requirements, but I certainly don't see from the software perspective what Bamboo have done as remotely the worst thing in the world, like some people do. There is far worse things out there. So, but the snap maker is where you want to put your money if you're interested in not having any of those issues. Just gonna have a sip of my cup of tea. Oh. So, to get on with tonight's video. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is EdgeTX Fest. This is coming up in June. Now, this is at the Western Model Air Show 2026. It is the EdgeTX 5th year anniversary as well. You're going to have the dev team there. You're going to have a whole host of radios to take a look at there as well. I will be there on the Saturday and the Sunday myself. I'm driving up late the Friday night. You will also see that my logo is located on this image because it says with special thanks to. I'm supporting the show this year from a logistics perspective on the radios getting into the country. There's a bunch of stuff coming to me and I'm helping the EdgeTX dev team. I'm lending them a bunch of my power supplies as well for the event. So yeah, if you're going to be there, it is 2026. It's going to be really cool. I will be wandering around on the Saturday and the Sunday. You will find me around their tent. Definitely. It is on the 19th to the 21st of June. At Western Park. If you don't know where that is, drop shipment address. Yes, I'm supporting the stuff getting into the UK this year. What's with the forklift? I have no idea. Don't know. So yeah, and there's gonna be, you know, you're gonna see the radios from RadioMaster, Jumper, and anyone else who comes along with that as well. So, and it's their big 5th birthday. And look, we would not be anywhere remotely where we are than with EdgeTX today. You know, it really did push forward off OpenTX. It took a big step forward in the development cycle. And yeah, really, really good. And it's being sponsored by B2FPV, Fly Sky, Jumper, and RadioMaster. I want the RadioMaster forklift. Yeah, look. So yeah, that is happening this year. You can go to the website and have a look. And that is take a look. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. Now, the next thing to talk about is DJI O4, and the overall reality is there isn't really a lot to say. There's no major particular news. Things have been bubbling along quietly. You've got people posting they're having issues. You've got people posting they're not having issues. I would say it is, on balance, pretty even, but we don't really know. I know someone's had a response, and I don't know if yours is what I'm going to talk about on here. I believe a user has had a response from DJI support, but I'm going to throw some caution on that, but we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, look, right now, there isn't any particular news. Now, one user, and someone has had a response from DJI support saying that they know about the issue and they're working on new firmware. Now, I'm just going to throw caution to this, and I've said this 100 times. DJI support replying, saying anything is not acknowledgement of anything at all. Frankly, you are dealing with a low-level customer service rep that has no real impact or control or major information on the company. DJI used to run their support out of Thailand. And look, over the years, DJI support have said all sorts of things. And whilst people have said, they've said they're working on firmware, it's not confirmation of DJI acknowledging the issue. Even if DJI support rep on DJI's own forum says it, it means nothing. DJI, you cannot trust what is said by anyone in support. It is like walking into the Apple Genius Bar with a problem on iOS and the guy going, oh yeah, I've heard, yeah, they're fixing that next week. He doesn't know fuck all. And that is the same situation for DJI support. DJI support, doesn't matter what they say, it is not and should not be taken as any form of confirmation of they are doing something, not doing something. You just can't think. And even when they tell you, until it actually freaking happens, it's just a non-existent. And look, there are, like someone said, I got fed back by some engineer, which advanced. And even then, look, it's complicated because at DJI, the engineers don't control what happens. What you will get is, even if you get a conversation with an engineer, they have no control over what the product manager is going to allow to happen after the fact, because DJI is completely driven by the project manager. Having dealt with them for a very long time, I can tell you this. LV Cinematic is saying the solution is SoftMic O4. Currently, there will be no software fix. I wouldn't be shocked if that is the case. I would not be shocked if that's the case at all. You know, it still isn't even clear if this is a firmware or a batch issue, because there are still as many people saying theirs is absolutely fine as there are people saying mine isn't working properly. And then you've got to weed out, well, whose isn't working properly is the same not working properly as what everyone else's gets. Because someone says, oh, I've got vibration, but it's not a vibration issue we're talking about here. This is a very specific twitching in the image when ran through gyroflow. So, it is hardly easy. It's impossible to get to the grips of how really good or bad this is. Right now, this doesn't seem to be blowing up. The numbers on this still seem very small to me. Genuinely, 2 pages on DJI forum, 45 posts, including a couple of mine. That's fucking nothing. When I've seen issues on DJI forum, you're talking 200, 300, 400, 500 posts. This seems very small. I still would not be shocked if this is a hardware issue on specific units. Have we narrowed down the specific manufacturer? No, look, no, this is, it appears to be, you'll never be able to get to the weeds of it exactly. It could be a batch issue. It could be, look, there's definitely something going on. That's for sure. No one is denying that. But that isn't to say it will ever be fixed, or it isn't as a result of the frame type, or it isn't as a result of a batch issue. It certainly doesn't seem to be blowing up into massive numbers. There are people buying new units and saying, yeah, mine's doing it. I've had a couple on my Discord. Look, I've done a bit more testing on mine, and mine is fine. I've flown it in a 5-inch as well, and it's fine. There's nothing I can find wrong. So, we're just going to have to wait and see. The truth is, we're just going to have to wait and see. My advice to anyone who has this is to RMA the air unit. That is my personal advice. I'm not going to sit here and say don't buy, but my advice is if you get the issue, RMA the air unit. That is the best approach to dealing with this problem. What I would actually say is twofold. Post a post on DJI forum, in that post saying, hi DJI, I have just bought this unit and it's doing it. I am going to RMA it for a refund or replacement because I'm not accepting this. But do the RMA. It's really important the RMA happens. That is the best way to drive an issue like this forward. I will have another video coming on this, but right now it doesn't seem massive. It just doesn't seem massive. And that's from posts on my Discord, looking on DJI forum. It just doesn't feel every unit. But the reason I'm also saying RMA is if it's a hardware issue, hopefully you'll get it replaced and it gets swapped from this. So, yeah. So that's where we're at. You know, it's clearly a thing. That's for sure. Soft mounting O4 camera is absolutely needed. Has always been needed. That isn't anything new. It is harder on O4 Pro simply because of its width. And if you're cautious, don't buy it a minute. That's really the only option, you know. DJI O4 units are estimated 150,000 to 250,000. So, look, yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. Yeah, but we even had this on O3. Remember, there's what is soft mounting. TPU is not soft. Silicon, being hung in silicon, is really soft mounting. Yeah, the table it's on isn't particularly solid, so it is doing that a little bit. That's the FlashForge Creator 5 I'm testing. Is the gyros in the camera? Cheers. It's the best cup of tea I've had in ages, that. Just make sure that cup of tea is kept topped up. I wouldn't want to run out of tea. Yes, it is a multicolour dragon test print. I'm doing a different colour version of this as a test print because it's got different colours on it, but that's what I'm doing. Does the O4 Lite... Look, there has been... Does the O4 Lite have the same problems? There has been a steady stream of complaints about O4 Lite from the day it released. The only way to get the O4 Lite and new batches of O4 Pro to stabilise in Rocksteady is very, very soft mount, like DJI do it in their camera drones. It has to be suspended. I wouldn't agree with that, Brandon, on O-Lite. I've got O4 Lites in those small flywheel craft, and they've been fine. That's bloody hard. That's in a TPU cage on the top. That's been fine for me. I wouldn't say it's all of the time. It's not every setup. It is absolutely aircraft dependent, is what I will say. And it will absolutely depend on how bad the aircraft vibration is. And you know, we've all reviewed the O4 Lite. A bunch of us have reviewed the O4 Lite, and it's been fine. It's been absolutely fine in gyroflow. So, yeah, it's just not clear. Some of my O4 Lites are in TPU. Yeah, if you think about like the Fireflies I've reviewed on the channel, the O4 ones, they're in their boxes somewhere, and it's you know, it's only in the hard TPU or plastic cover. So yeah, it's not really clear. That's the truth. It's not really clear. So, just a couple of other things. Just catch up on DJI. Someone asked me the other day if there's been an update to the Goggles N3 and support some extra drones. If it's there, I don't see it. I can see no firmware updates for the Goggles N3 other than the firmware update we had for the Avata 360. Other than that, it's pretty quiet with DJI at the moment. Yeah, I still think there might be a very specific first impressions of the Flash Forge. I ordered the 5 Pro of April. Can't wait to get it. I'm slightly skewed because I'm comparing it now directly to the Snapmaker. It is a cheaper built product in every way, and it is compromised in a number of areas. I can't tell you about print quality yet. I haven't used it enough. What I would say, though, is do those areas it's compromised matter to you? So as a real simple example, filament loading on this has no feed motors, and you have to load each of the extruders manually, one at a time. You can't push all the filaments in and then say load all, like you can on the Snapmaker. The Snapmaker feeds, but then you can just say load all. That in itself is a quality of life difference. The way it throws its filament off the bed is pretty fucking horrible. Just to give you an idea, that's the purging from loading, and that's where it lands. That's shit, if I'm honest. That is really shit. There is a few little quirks I've noticed on it in the software that makes it struggle. Another great example is on the U1, when you send a print to it, in the printer you can reallocate the filaments to the colors, whereas on this you don't seem to be able to. So whatever the order is you've sent to it, that's what it's going to print at. 1 is 1 from the slicer, 2 is 2, 3 is 3, 4 is 4. Whereas on the Snapmaker, before the print goes ahead, you can actually say, actually, I want 1 to be that colour, and you can change the colours around on the Snapmaker before printing. I can't figure out how to do that on this. Well, I don't see you can do that on this. Also, mine will not connect to their cloud service, refusing to connect to their cloud service, even though I've registered, so I've had to put it in LAN mode. Other than that, I'm waiting on it right now. I'm still doing the initial tests. It definitely has a lower cost feel to it. But hey, the screen's articulating, which is a win. Very easy to set up as well. Really easy to set up. There'll be a setup video coming before the printer video, if it survives on the table. And don't do what I do, put the filament holders on the wrong way around. I'm actually looking forward to the Bondtech in INDX. If it ever fucking releases, it just feels like vaporware. It just feels like vaporware. I'm really hoping there will be people unlocking the full clipper on the C5. Yes, yeah, they've got ads all over their software. But hey, they got nothing compared to Creality. Have you ever used the Creality app? Fucking hell. If you want to talk about ads, use the Creality app. I have whinged about this 100 times in the past. I have more drones or printers, a fair number of both. So, that's where we're at with DJI. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is JB's video. If you haven't seen this, this is really worth a look. I have to say, I really enjoyed this video today. It's nice to see someone in FPV making proper content. No slight at anyone else. I'm having a dig at myself here, because I am truly slacking. I'll talk about that at the end. But JB put out this video, and it is well worth a look. And he's talking about tabless batteries. Really enjoyed it. Really cool. My only complaint is I wish he'd have had a thermal camera to put the battery under at the end. I would have loved to have seen it under a thermal camera. I loved the way he loaded it up with a 2.5 pound weight as well. I was like, oh wow, we're going there, are we? But yeah, really good video if you haven't seen it. And it's an interesting video because the battery held up. Not to the same standard. I believe the flight time was very similar. What was the flight time? So 6 minutes. No, sorry. What did he have? Sorry, 4 minutes. 4 minutes and 2 seconds on the LiPo. And whilst it didn't have the same power, he really got very, very similar flight times. Where did he kick it? You know, 348. Yeah, he's within, you know, he's within 10 seconds, isn't he? Really? If that. But yeah, so look, it was a particularly interesting battery. Now, these are the Nitro Nectar 18650. So I've not seen these before. Now, I don't know who makes this. I didn't see where he was. Did he talk about this battery came from? It's made by Newbie Drone. Is it? Okay. Batteries and chargers. Batteries. Aha. Okay. So I'm guessing it's... Is it? No, it's not one of these. Newbie Drone. Where are these? Are they... Am I missing the lithium ions here? Batteries. Drone batteries. Why aren't I seeing that? I'm not even seeing it under the brand. Nitro Nectar. Here we go. What's the weight on that? Oh, it's a bit much. I was going to say that might be ideal for the Chipito, but it's a little heavy. So here it is. Tabless. Really interesting. Really, really interesting. definitely need to look into this a bit more. Yeah, price is not shocking. $89 for that isn't bad. It's a bit heavy for the Chipito. If I remember, was using 21700 tablets last year. It's doable for the Chipito, but it's a bit overweight. What was it they recommended? 270 grams on the Chipito, wasn't it? If I remember off the top of my head. 270. But yeah, really, look, a really interesting video. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Really nice to see. It is expensive, but you're buying a built battery at that point. But it's nice to see. It was good to see. You definitely saw a lot of sag on it in comparison. I don't know how much those cells are in it. Because there are... What are they saying about the cells in this? So... It's using JP30 tablet cells. So... Oh, no. So, is it that cell there, then? Because that's AmpAce. One hobby. They're only the 36 amperes, though. Yeah, what cell do they say they're using? 160 amp for 10 seconds. Yeah, must be higher compatible capacity than those. 56 amp. I wonder if it's them. AmpAce JP30 P1s. What's the maximum current on these? 140 amp pulse, and what are they saying on this? 160, so it must still be a bigger battery than that. Same single cells that they're selling. So it's that cell there then, is it? So 10 quid a battery. Well, that says maximum sustained and maximum burst of 140. So that's the 36 amp cell according to this. They're giving it a higher rating in the pack, which in theory you can because you're sharing it. JP40, 70 amp sustained, yeah. AmpAce. So they're JP30s. What are these 60s here? EV30PLs. Tablets. So what are these rated at? 60 amp. What's it say? No, it's not peak, is it? No, that's no good. It means you could just... What we got on 56s. Yeah, they seem to be worth a look, don't they? These JP30P1s. 140 amp pulse current. Interesting. the weight on these each? 50 grams. Little bit too much. But yeah, interesting video. Just thought I'd mention it. Peak is a mare value anyway. Yeah, well, they sag. If you watch JB's video, you would see they definitely pulled the available current down. You could see he couldn't punch it out. JB did some punch outs and he couldn't punch it out. He couldn't get, I think, what was the maximum he had there? He was hitting like 110 amp on the LiPo. And what's he getting on this? He was hitting 110 on the LiPo. 110 to 120. Do you see that? It peaked over 100, but then it dropped off fairly quickly. So yeah, they're not delivering the same current. Pretty good though. So yeah, look, definitely worth a look. I enjoyed that video. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Nice to see some proper FPV content. 7 or 8S it is then. 8S. Let's 8S it. But you could go 7S. 7S would get you there. Yeah, that's the only thing that worried me was the 80-degree temperature cut. It's funny you mention that. Do they just turn off at ATC? Does anyone know? I've never tested one to a temperature cut. Do they just... Is that a fusible cut and it's permanently gone? Or is that a bimetallic cut? Because I know ATC is hot, but still. I know JB, and that's why I'd like to have seen JB's under a thermal camera. He couldn't hold it properly at the end. It was that hot. So it is an interesting... Oh, they level less current until they cool. Well, it will be fused, yeah. Ah, the thermal cut. The ball of fire cut. That's, yeah, that's a good way of doing it. Okay, right. Before we move on, just want to say thank you for joining us tonight. If you're not subscribed, please make sure you are subscribed. Hit that button. Don't forget to check out my Patreon as well as buy me a coffee. It is only through the support of the patrons I'm able to keep doing this, even though you're not getting much for your money right now. But yeah, please do consider it. I will get off my arse again. Before we get on to Caddx, I'm going to be honest with you. I have found the last month very hard. I've been doing a lot of stuff in the background, very little which will turn into content. Just testing these artisan systems and fucking getting to grips with this, but not in a way that, look, it will go into content, but it in itself isn't content, if that makes sense. The opinions and findings will go into content, but it in itself isn't content. And I've just found it really hard to get motivated to sit behind the chair and do something. And anything I've done has gone to shit, and it hasn't really worked out well. And look, there's some stuff I want to get over the line. I'm a bit bogged down in 3D printers, which I want to get done now. But I found myself a little bit lost. Mojo a little bit lacking for people's bullshit and shit products that don't work as it should, which then makes me just get frustrated, and I'm like, I can't be arsed with this. It feels like I'm wasting my time. You know, even when I look at some of this art and stuff, fucking the modules have come without them even being able to read the battery voltage or have constant errors on the display. You know, this is fucking alpha testing issues, yet they have sent this out to me in the public. I bought them. I wasn't sent them. I bought and paid for these units, and fucking the Sky Zone has a constant low battery error on the screen. It's like, what the fuck is the answer? And my patience is not there to push on through some of that, if you get my meaning. I'm struggling to... I don't want to have to sit in front of the camera and go, this is fucking shit. I'm going to have to, because it is. I'm also giving them a little bit of time to get their shit together. And I haven't always done that, to be crystal clear. But there is a difference here. I bought them, they didn't send them for review. So, if they'd have sent them for review, and there was an embargo date, then you're getting what you're getting. That, you know, you sent this, I'm going to talk about this as you sent it. Because I've bought them, I have slightly more flexibility to be able to go, this is an absolute joke, which I have said on stream, and there is a video coming on this. But I'm also now going, well, look, let's just give it a few weeks to see, do they fix any of this stuff? That way my initial video isn't completely out of date and wrong. And there's always a risk in the early days of something new, especially if they release lots of new updates quickly. And I think Beta FPV have released an update for the P1. No, HGLRC. HGLRC have released an update. Probably somewhere fucking random on their website. But let's have a look. I believe there's a new firmware update. Click here to view the firmware. So yeah, they've released now B3 version 2 BO3 on May the 14th. So wait, so what's the readme say? Oh, fuck. Do you know what? And I'm already pain in my hands. Just read the top line. I'm already beginning to get my patience tested. For the Draco HD VTX update file, it needs to be renamed. Please refer to the manual. Rename the file A1 underscore ground V2 to A... What? Fucking... What the... And I wonder why I say nasty things about people. It's okay, though. They're going to fix it in the next update. Good news. We should be grateful. Happy days. I feel like at times I'm the only sane person in the room full of crazy fucking monkeys. Has Sky Zone done anything yet? Because Sky Zone's is frankly a complete disaster. Have they released firmware yet? Because I've had it weeks. Let's have a look. Come on, Sky Zone. Before I go and look on your website under the firmware section, I'm just going to check that there isn't a random link somewhere for firmware, just like HDLRC did. Because we wouldn't want to miss a random link on a page, would we? Okay, so I don't believe there's a random link. Just checking in these drop downs. For the latest firmware, kindly email us. Brilliant! So, they send you a product that doesn't even fucking work properly, but hey, if you want the firmware, email it to us. Ah! Do you know what? I am really beginning to take back everything I have said about Caddx. Genuinely. You literally... This is freaking Sky Zone. What? Daniel. I don't deal with Sky Zone a lot, but Daniel. Sky Zone Daniel. Come on, mate. What is this? This is absolute bullshit. And it isn't acceptable for a company of your stature in FPV. You know better than this. You publish firmware for all of your other products. Just stick it here. Why is it not under your download section where you have all the other firmwares listed? This is utter nonsense, and it isn't good enough. It just isn't acceptable in any shape or form. You have sold this product, it doesn't work properly with the firmware it's shipped on, and you're telling us to email for the latest firmware. And people wonder why I drink. What can you do? Now, whilst talking about firmware, I'm going to quickly mention something, but I do have a video on it coming. RadioMaster have pushed out a firmware update for the AX12. I have a video filmed on this, which will probably go live Tuesday. Okay, showing you exactly what's going on. This new update resolves... Okay, it's not fully the right word, but it changes the behavior of the RC system. And that improves the behavior with regards to the power on and the way the RC system works. For those who remember on the AX12, the RC system is independent of the Android system, but we found it wouldn't kick in until the RadioMaster app had started and provided information to the AT32, and then the RC would kick in. So on boot, the Android system would kick in first, then the RadioMaster AX app would kick in, and then the RC system would work. Once it was working, it didn't need the RadioMaster app to be running to continue to work. Basically, the RadioMaster app was uploading the default settings for that session, and it carried on. You could completely crash the RadioMaster app or close it and the RC control would still work. They've now changed it that in the new firmware, it stores the last used settings in the microcontroller. So when you now power it on, the RC system will kick in much, much faster and doesn't even need the RadioMaster app to kick in. And just to give you an idea of how fast, on the old firmware, it was about 32 seconds in my testing before the RC would kick in. In the new firmware, it's 5 seconds. It's still booting the Android system, whereas now the RC will kick in. Now, there is still the quirk of if the Android tablet reboots, it will bring the RC down with it because the power circuit for the RC is hardware linked to the power circuit for the tablet, and when a reboot command triggers, it will reboot the RC, but that RC would recover within 5 seconds, independently of the Android OS. So, as an example, if you ended up in a situation where the Android OS ended up in a crash state where it got stuck, the RC would still work. It wouldn't need the Android app to kick it in. If it rebooted and then got stuck, it would kick the RC in. So it is definitely an improvement. They've also added a dark mode as well, which is so much better than before. But the video on that will be coming on a couple of days. The firmware, who'd have thought about it? Publishing firmware on somewhere like GitHub. Why would you do such a thing? Who knew there were websites like this where you could publish firmware? Who'd have thought that? So yes, but look, the full video is coming. It's basically recorded. But yes, the new app is here, and then the firmware is on there as well, and it downloads it from the app. So yeah, it is available. Who'd have known? Crazy situation. So yes. Right. The next thing we need to talk about is Caddx, and there's a couple of things to talk about with Caddx. The first one is I need to figure it out. What have I done with that now? Oh, it's over here. Caddx have released new firmware for Ascent. Haven't tested it yet. It's on the list to be done this week. Here it is. Added VRX UART function with support to the menu. Not sure what that is. Added support for new flash types. Caddx must have changed the brand of flash they're using. Improvements, changes. Optimized frequency hopping performance. Okay, good to see. Change wireless standard to SRRC. Frequency channels. 3 channels. Fixed black screen issue at the beginning of video playback. Don't recall that one. Optimized wireless throughput performance for fixed wing mode. Okay. Fixed issues of false weak signal alarms where signal strength was good. Okay, that's good. Adjusted the display of the frequency hopping button. Okay. Optimized frame change performance and improved logic control for switching between different modes. Okay, interested in seeing that. I need to do a test on the old and new. During ground station startup, version verification differs, and the last digit of the version number will no longer trigger a proper prompt. Fixed inconsistency between millisecond values in the video recording. Fixed other known issues. So it's quite a big update. Yeah, they have a fixed wing mode on Ascent. We didn't really know what it did. It's, according to this, it must improve video signal. I'm guessing at the cost of latency, but I couldn't tell a difference in my testing. So, there is new firmware for Ascent. We also, though, have a bunch of new information on products from the show. So it was UASE in China. Let me mute this. There is... Caddx have put out a video showing a bunch of stuff. Caddx are going really hard on ground-based vehicles. And I have to say, I've seen some videos, and I think this looks quite cool. We'll digest some of this in a minute, but Caddx were showing a bunch of products. They got quite a product stack now when you look at it. Fair play to them. Also, we have a hint of the new goggles, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So, yeah, Caddx gave a bit of an overview in the video, but we do have a lot more than that. So what we have is we have some screenshots from some stuff we'll talk about. So we've got the new Ascent VTXs coming. We have the GT Pro kit, which is going to be coming with the Pro Version 2 camera. The GT kit. So you've got the GT Pro kit, which says DDDBM in FCC. So that's 1 watt. It's interesting. Why are they... That can't be right. There must be a higher power number that they're not showing you on that. We've got the Ascent GT. Again, 33D. Yeah, look, they're Spectrum. 4 watt, 2 watt. So that's the 4 watt Ascent. It's a lot of fucking power. And then there's a pretty monstrous 2 watt coming, which is cool to see. Both showing only 60 frames a second. No sign of 120 frames a second or 100 on these. Intrigued about that. Why no low latency mode? Sony Starvis 2 sensor on that, so that should be good. We've then got a new Light Kit Plus coming. I'm guessing... See, here's interesting. So, we've got these that say 60 frames a second. And then you've got these that go up to 100 frames a second. And then there's a new Light Plus coming at 120 frames a second. Little bit weird. Why are these not capable of 120 or 100? This could genuinely be a typo, mind knowing Caddx. So, we've certainly got them. We've then got a bunch of other stuff. So, as an example, there is another VRX coming. So, you're going to have... Let me just get this right. The Ascent VRX, the Ascent VRX Pro, and the Ascent VRX Max. So, there's a 4-antenna Max version here. We don't really know much about it. It has an Ethernet port on the bottom. Again, full-size HDMI. Why? We don't really know if they are using 4 antenna lanes, antenna switch in, or 2 sets of chipsets. We don't know. There is also an Ascent repeater coming. So, an Ascent version of the Caddx Avatar repeater. There is a 4-antenna Ascent Max VTX as well. So you've got the GT Pro, the GT, and Ascent Max. It's like... What? As cool as all of this is, it feels very fragmented. Here's a closer image of the repeater. We can pretty much guess what that's going to look like. So if you look, you've got the Ascent VRX. So there's the Ascent VRX we know we've got, right? You got the Ascent VRX Pro. And just weird. Their stuff is all over the place. Avatar. Ascent, Avatar. And then, on this image, ascent, 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 ascent max. Why is this all over the place? Why is this not all in the same area? Could be dual band. Could not be 4 antenna lanes. Could be... They look like different antennas slightly, don't they? You could be right. Dual band or other frequencies. Good point. Good spot. So, you're going to have a VRX Pro, which we've heard about. 120 frames a second. We then also have the Ascent Cine VRX. Now, this is something a little bit special, because this is, wait for it, this is something else again, but this is specifically for use, as we can tell, with these, the new Caddx goggles. This is going to be the new goggle, it seems, from Caddx that will work with both systems. If you were hoping for some very tightly integrated goggle that has replacement or dual modules, it doesn't look like you're gonna get it. It looks like they've basically built a box style goggle and slapped a VRX module on the front of it. And at this point, why not just buy the HD0 goggles and have 3 systems? We don't know if they're OLEDs. We have no information, I'm afraid. This is not what I was expecting. Being completely honest with you, I was expecting something far more integrated. It looks like it just clips on the front. You've then got this module that still has HDMI output. It has that custom connection on the top. That isn't what I was expecting. I'm trying to be nice. Easy to swap between systems. Yeah. If you remember when Caddx, after all of the noise, remember, upgrade module for the Goggles X. This is what you're getting. This ain't what we were sold. Being nice and polite. In theory, you can have every system that has HDMI output. Well, you could, but that has. Why then buy a proprietary goggle that can only be used with certain modules? You may as well just buy the HD0 goggle. Complete. Why be tied into their goggle if you can just buy the VRX modules? The benefit of being tied into their goggle would have been size and weight. And I ain't seeing that here. That looks like an FPV goggle where you've put a custom proprietary connector on it to link the two. I am... Look, I'll have to test it. I will buy them when they come out. As always. Yeah, perhaps this is going to be cheap, but that isn't what we were wanting or promised. Remember, we're going to make a goggle that works with both systems with interchangeable modules. Okay, technically they're delivering on that. But that isn't what we were expecting. Yeah, and it's like the USB variant, yeah. I just, look, I'm trying to not shit all over it now. I was expecting something more. I would have been more than happy with a replacement goggle that had both systems built in, fixed. So Ascent and Avatar, and they just got on with their lives and switched between them. There's definitely a market for cheap goggles, agreed, but perhaps this isn't it. Well, Ascent Cine, so it's the name of the goggles. They said they were going to be Cine. Now, look, we have to also be fair to Caddx. Caddx have actually made very good goggles, so they could still be very, very good. My initial reaction is quite... But we also have to be fair and say Caddx have made very good goggles. The Goggles X are very good. Don't get me wrong, they've had some issues. But they are very good. Also, the QR code leads to promo materials. Will that scan? I don't know if my phone will scan that. Yeah, look, I'm just... Oh, my phone has. Oh, right, okay. How can I do that on a browser? Can you... Here's the truth, I don't know. How can I scan a QR code in Chrome? Anyone know? I'm going to send it to myself on Discord is what I'm going to do. Yeah, I'm going to have to install an extension. I'm just going to put it on my Discord. And then I'll click it from Discord. Here we go. So, let's have a look. "26 pages. Is it Chinese on one side? Yes, it is. So, we zoom all the way in. Scroll across. Okay. There we go. So we'll do the English bit. We don't need the other side. Oh, we'll have to have a proper read of this. California Global R&D in Intelligent Manufacturing covers 5 locations: California, Thailand, Shenzhen, Hong Kong, and Shanghai. World's top 100 countries, 8 million global customers. That's some bullshit. There is no way they've sold 8 million products. Maybe in total. Let's not hit them too hard. Ah. Followers. 8 million followers. Okay. It's all fair. All good. Digital HD technology supports 4K 60 frames a second, 1080p 120, low latency. They won't say it's artisan though. Core products, FPV drone. That is a great quad. For anyone who hasn't used it, what's it called? I use it for testing Avatar a lot. It came with the Moonlight. That is a great quad. The duct is a little bit weak, but it is genuinely a great quad. FPV cameras. Avatar and Ascent. self-developed ultra high definition digital LPV system. We can take some umbrage with that. Protoss combo. GoFilm 20. Great quad. A great quad, the GoFilm 20. Someone just said 8 million semi-disappointed followers. No. It's a great quad. I do like the GoFilm. Goggles X. Let's see if they talk about upgradable, shall we? No, they haven't. Okay. Not gonna forget, Caddx. Goggles out. Goggles out. Credible price. Notice how they haven't put the head tracking on the X because it wasn't working in the early days, yet they did on the L, because all of the Ls had head tracking that worked from the factory, yet these were not. Well played. VRX module, great VRX module. The Avatar one, repeater. Still a strange product, but GT2 kit, very good VTX. Very good VTX. Moonlight kit. Yeah, Pro kit. Like, Nano Version 3. Really good. The Avatar stuff has been ticking along nicely. Ascent. Nothing particularly new there. I am getting confused with all of these VRXs. So we've got the VRX and the VRX Pro. So we haven't seen Ascent or any of the Artisan system go above 20 megahertz bandwidth so far. Wide frequency range on the Pro, look, 4.9 to 7. You then got the Light Kit and Light Kit Plus. Interesting, the Light Kit Plus, when that comes. So they've definitely swapped out the power amplifier on the Light Kit Plus. Same camera, different power amplifier. I'm wondering if that's a different SoC, you know. I'm now intrigued. Look at the difference here. 1080p 60, 720p 100. 1080p 60, 100, 120. 720p 60, 100, 120. I wonder if Caddx are using a different SoC on the Light Plus. Then we got the GT Pro, which we saw earlier. Oh my gosh. Okay. So here comes the thermal stuff. I am aware that they are coming out with thermal cameras. So, 32 times zoom, 4-watt industrial grade HD video transmission, GT Pro VTX, dual camera setup. Fucking hell, look at this. So, telecam, 1/2 inch. And then they've got a Z8, which is 8 times zoom. So this is very much like the analog one. What's it called? The Farsight. Gazers, gazing for Vision 2. And then they got the analogs. GM Version 2, 2 new gimbals. Yeah, look. I have seen a lot of Caddx videos on... I've got a Baby Rattle 2 in a quad I've just been sent. Haven't tried it yet. No, I have to say, when you look at it like this, it is one hell of an impressive product stack. It really is. I wish Caddx would start selling some of these RC cars they show. If you look in this video, right, these RC cars. Caddx, start selling these. I'd love to see some of these on sale as a ready-to-go FPV racing kit with cars. That would be really cool. Really cool. I genuinely would love to see that. I think there'd be quite a market in that. I got the drones here. Yes, he's there with the car. See, look at that. You see with the cameras built into the top. That's really cool. Would love to see that as a product. To be fair, you have to say it's quite an impressive lineup when you look at it. Half of this you can't buy yet, but that's the only weirdness here. You can't buy half of this. If you go to Caddx.com, oh, cent, you know, you've only got under a cent that. You know, we don't even have half of these products. If you think of how much they were showing there, basically none of it's available. Here's something really positive to say. When all of this becomes available, that is one hell of a product stack that Caddx should quite rightly be proud of, because that is a hell of a lot of product. Right now, a lot of this is vaporware. Let's be honest with ourselves. Ascent VRX Pro, and they're not even showing the max here. So, yeah, no Moonlight 2. Yeah, good point. You know, if we go on AliExpress, Ascent Pro GT, so that is the... So can you buy this now? It says that's in stock. So is this stuff available in China? What is going on? Because that's the... TMC has got this, hasn't he? Was it TMC who's got it? I'm sure he's got this unit already, isn't he? Was it the... It's not a bad price at $240 either. Yeah, it's there, look, as well, $180. Jesus, look, that's there. That says it's in stock. So, is this stuff available to buy in China and not over here? That looks like that's thermal. Is that thermal? That looks thermal to me. TMC rings about. I'm sure TMC has some of this. Z40. What have we got here? Z40. GT Pro Z8. So where's the GT Pro Z40? So is the specification here on the GT Pro Z40? So that's just a teller and a wide. That looked thermal to me. When I looked at that image, maybe not. No, it's the way the light is glistening on it. It's not thermal. I believe they got some thermal cameras coming for Avatar as well. So look, that's available. You're not seeing the GT. No, you're not seeing the repeat. They sell thermal stuff in China. Yeah, look, it's a little weird, isn't it? The problem is, see, I wouldn't order that. That isn't shocking money. So that is clearly available. Cent GT Pro. That is clearly available. But again, it doesn't have 120 frames a second. Okay, I guess on the ground-based units you don't need it. Yeah, Shannon's just said Caddx don't support industry products sold via Ali. Getting firmware updates aligned between industry and commercial assent may not be. Yeah, it's hard because that is a public product. What's weird is why none of this is on the Caddx website. That's the bit I don't really understand. They've been really weird with their releases in recent times. Because, you know, today on Caddx, that's all you can buy. They sell it for the military war related stuff. It's not going as well as I would like. So, that's it from Caddx. That, you know, quite nice to look at. Lots of new stuff. It'll be good when it all arrives. That's really all you can say, isn't it? If and when it happens. Sorry, I'm looking for a remote controller to turn off my aircon. My aircon is suddenly getting very cold. Right. If you've got any questions, pop it in the chat now. While you do that, I'm just going to show you this. There is a video coming on this. So I reached out to, you know, trying to say this fucking company's name is even hard. Furnisi, F-N-I-R-S-I. Furnisi, I think it is. Them. Who is it? Woo! Zoom. And the reason is, I want to talk about this from an FPV perspective of how good these little products are now as to have on the bench from a testing perspective. Because, you know, everyone goes and gets themselves a multimeter. But these are so cheap now. Something like this is worth having on your bench. It's a multimeter, so it can act as a normal multimeter, but it also is an oscilloscope, so it allows you to do some basic electrical testing, and it has a built-in signal generator as well. And it's just, these are like $70 now, these units. They are so cheap, it's insane. And I'm going to talk about it as a bit of a review, but then show you some signals on it from, servo signals and things like this. Firmware, I think it is. And yeah, signal generator as well. Yeah, so we can go into the signal generator, and you can generate square wave, sine wave, step wave, all the usual nonsense. Sine wave, square wave, tooth wave, half wave, full wave, step wave, up, down, direct current, and multi-audio. And then it has the oscilloscope functionality as well, which you can use. And it's just good enough for very basic testing on the bench for signals and FPV. And that was the reason I reached out to them and said, look, I'd like to try it for that. And yeah, so look, I've been really impressed with the kind of functionality it has, because, it is an oscilloscope. It behaves like an oscilloscope. If I just grab a minute, if I grab my Mixig portable, my Mixig has a 1 kilohertz signal generator on the side, as most proper scopes do have. Oh god, I've bent the probe. Didn't mean to do that. Ooh, that's my fault. I have it hanging on the side. Let me just fix that a moment. There we go. But yeah, this has a 1 kilohertz signal generator on it. Most scopes have. This doesn't, unfortunately. So there's no signal generator on this one. But there you can see the 1 kilohertz signal generator. You can then see the signal coming up on the display. Let me just go into the menu and turn off cursors, because they're taking over the screen. There we go. So it's just really cool as a device for testing, as a device that allows you to, if I swap between the modes, so vertical and horizontal, we can swap there between the amplitude, we can change the time base, we can go in and adjust the position on the screen, or move the time base forward or back. We can then scroll. Oh, no, not trigger. Sorry. We can then adjust the trigger position if we want to as well. So I can move the trigger off the screen. Yes, it's to adjust your probe capacitance. Yes, but it's just handy to put a quick signal on the display for testing. It saves me having to go and dig out the signal generator or plug it into something to look at. I just wanted to demo the. Yes, it's to calibrate your probes, to make sure your probes are correct. And if people don't know what that means, what we need to do is go across. If we go in a bit more, what you want to do, this probe is actually quite nicely calibrated. I haven't calibrated these. Let me just move it across. Grab a probe driver. We do have the screw in here. And this allows you to, might need to go in a bit more. Let's go in and adjust the position. I want to get to the end of Where are we? Right. Get me back in the center. Thank you. Move across. And then we can adjust the edge. I'm intrigued. Anyone who's used a scope knows what I'm on about. Let me just check that probe. Ah, we're in current. We're not in times 10, we're in times 1. That's better. Let's bring that up a minute. Let's cheat. Let's auto it. Come on, thank you very much. Right, cool. I can't actually see from here. So, what we should be doing is adjusting the probe to take off this taper is what we should be doing. So if you look there on the scale of the signal, so if I take it out there, that probably looks quite nice, but when you go in close you can see you've got a taper, and the idea of the capacitance adjustment is to adjust the taper out. So what we want to do is, so if you watch there as I adjust this, you would... It's interesting. What are we in? Times 1 or times 10? Times 1. Doesn't want to adjust particularly well. Although I am in quite close. When you get it on a normal probe, you can have quite a lot of difference in this. It's not particularly great, if I'm honest. It's not a good sign for the probes. Just to show you what I mean. Let me grab a different probe and show you what it should do. And the adjustment is usually actually on the handle of the probe, not the connection there. Will this fit onto this one? Let's try. Give it a blast. And let's there. Okay. We're in times 10, times 1. So if I just show you this now. So now we're zoomed in there. Where's my screwdriver gone? I've lost it. There it is. And then what you should have... Sorry, the light on that is... What we should have the ability to do... Oh no. I wonder if it's worse in times 10. Let's try. Times 10. Ah, yeah, it looks a lot worse in times 10. Right, you'll see it now. It should skew quite a bit, as he said. Yeah, actually, it's times 10. Sorry, I was in times 1. So if you look there, that's the skew adjustment difference. So what you're doing is adjusting for a flat signal is what you're trying to do. It's my fault. I was in times 1, not times 10. So if I just do this probe, so it's hard to do when you're very close, but when you sort of when you get to there, what you want to do is just skew. Get in there. Yeah, so that one there is pretty good. And then if I swap over, it was my understanding there'd be no oscilloscope math on this stream. Yes, sorry. Now I just need to fix this one because I've completely fucking moved it up. But let's do it on the device it's going to be on rather than that one. Let's do it on that one over there and let's see if it works before I move on. So I'm just trying to get my crocodile clip on. My hands are sweaty. Right, should we try that mess again? Now I know what I did wrong. So we want to make sure that we put this now on channel 1 into ×10 mode. So we go channel 1 on ×10. Put the probe into ×10. We then want to adjust our voltage. Let's auto it. If I auto it, it'll there we go. Okay, so there we are. And you can now see there's a nice horrible wave on that one. Let's move that down the display. So there you can now see we've got that. And then what I want to be able to do is adjust the skew. That's better. Here we go. There we go. Pretty good. You can't use the function generator that I found and the oscilloscope at the same time. So, there we go. Look, it's not perfect. You can see there's quite a lot of noise there on the signal as well. You know, I wouldn't use it for absolute perfect diagnostics, but it's good enough, especially, yeah, it's a square wave, so it's not a sine wave, this is a square. But yeah, they're handy, especially for automotive diagnostics and things like this, where you want to see, are you getting a signal? Are you getting a viable result? That could just be the display. I need to understand there is a refresh rate on these. There is saving a picture. Yeah, look, a lot of the time when you're testing this stuff, right, you're testing to understand, am I getting a signal? Am I actually, is it all working as expected? You've even got persistence, so we can turn persistence on as well. So you can see that slows things down a little bit there. You got mathematics as well. Turn persistence off. You got your mathematics options as well. So yeah, look, it's got the basics. That's the idea. The idea is, can I put it on something? And is there a signal? You know, if you want to chase, could you chase something down? Absolutely. But is there something there? And here's a great example of this. If I take this and this, right, so we're going to take the probe, and I'll just show you a quick example on a flight controller. If we take a look on this flight controller, we've got our UARTs for our Express RS receiver. If we power this up on battery, we will grab our probe. We need to find an earth point, which is not always as easy as it sounds. Let me disconnect that to find the earth point. Always a little bit risky, but there we go. And then we're going to go, which one's TX, which one's RX? There we go. So we're going to go do an auto. Let's see if auto grabs it. We might need to adjust the time base. I tell you what I probably need is a fucking radio connected. Let me connect the radio. We'll just wait for that to kick in. You'll see when the LED stops flashing. There. So what we want to do is probably want to, right, let me turn off channel 2 first of all. I don't want channel 2. Let's hop through. Let's see if, am I on TX or RX? I can't actually see. So green I want to go on to. Green will be the best one. Green will be a good one. There we go. You can start to see the signal is appearing now on the display. Let me get it in auto. Let's see if auto will find it or not. If not, okay. Let's go manually. Let's take the time base out. There we go. We can start to see that appear now. There we go. So there we have our UART connection. You can see it's being pulled down from our voltage down to there. If we just shift that up the display a little bit, there we go. Nice and easy. And then if I start moving the stick, you will see the repeating pattern is shifting. But you know, the idea of something like this is there a signal? Is it working? Yes. That is the kind of things that you will want a device like this for. It's not always about what is the signal doing. Is it even there in the first place? You know, if we zoom out, we'll start to see it. There you go. No, that is the UART. That is the UART. There you can see the individual bits. And look, if we, I don't know if I hit typical. Okay, we can then, I'm trying to do a capture where we get in. There we go. So there now I've done a capture at that point in the screen, and what we can then do is scroll along. Nope, wrong way. We can then scroll in and have a look at that capture in a bit more detail. Doesn't have the resolution. Yeah, the resolution is not great. Look, it certainly doesn't have the resolution of a bigger scope. That shouldn't really look like that. When you get in close, that shouldn't look like that. That should be the clean single signals that you see there. So yeah, it is struggling on bandwidth a little bit. If you were to compare that to a proper oscilloscope, it wouldn't. It certainly wouldn't look like that. That's for sure. If I pop that on the mix sig, yeah, too fast for that scope. Yeah, it doesn't have the bandwidth. If I do that on the mix sig, just to give you an idea, fucking screen on this thing is horrible. I've got a screen protector on the mix sig, and this isn't the fastest scope in the world. That's either, if I'm honest. It's good enough. It's a great automotive scope, but it's not the certainly not the fastest oscilloscope I've ever used. So if we go auto, we'll let it auto detect in. So now here, if I come out, you can now see all of the signals there. But if we now then start to do a capture, so what you will see is if I do a stop, I can't see, it's reflecting on the display, so I can't see. So if I scroll in now you can start to see. Let me turn off the cursors. Here we go. You can now see properly. So if I scroll in, you can now see the actual data lines properly. So if I run, you can see the data lines. So what will happen is, as I remove the remote, you will actually see the data change. So if I move the stick on the remote, look, you're actually seeing the effect. So if I scroll along, of the input on the data. That's the actual channels on the UART, the data changing. You know, if we come out enough and find the trigger, it's never going to stay because it's a constantly evolving data stream. So it's not going to sit there looking happy as one bit of data. It's always going to change, but yeah, you can see it shifting. So yeah, it's interesting. And that's the UART input then. Try and grab one. Not much less data on the UART input, look. Yeah, look, for the cost, it's a good bit of kit. Do you know what I mean? There's a sneak look of the dark mode on the AX12. Look at that. That's better. But yeah, look, for the cost, they're a no-brainer. They are an absolute no-brainer. When it comes to, if you're buying a multimeter, why would you not buy one of them instead? When it allows you to be able to go, well, okay, you know, people might say things, and here's a great example. People say, I've done everything I can do, and I cannot get my MSP DisplayPort OSD to work. A real simple example is, if you have one of these, you can just hop on the UART and go, is the UART even working? It'll tell you. And it, you know, it gives you a bit more information than you would get on the thing. So in the video, we'll look at UART, we'll look at PWM as well. PWM is always great to see on an oscilloscope. If you haven't seen it, you literally see the pulse width moving. If you look at pulse width on an oscilloscope, you literally see it going whoop, whoop, because that's what it is. From media, question, how much better are high dollar video transmissions like DJI SDR, Ascon and Hollyland? So DJI's SDR is based on OcuSync. It's DJI's OcuSync system. It's the same system as in DJI O4 and all of their consumer drones. It literally is the same. I'd argue DJI are ahead of everyone else. I don't know what Hollyland are doing, or Ascon. I haven't seen. Most of the others are Wi-Fi based. When I've looked at them, most of them are delivering Wi-Fi. If you're in an industrial situation where latency isn't important, though, the Wi-Fi systems may provide enough. Depends how important latency is. You know, DJI is about 120 milliseconds on SDR. Yeah, they're designed to look similar. A lot of them are Wi-Fi or WiMAX even. I had a look at them at one point, and most of them are doing Wi-Fi based stuff. Yeah, for the money. No brainer. Finizzi, they're called. GoPro Mission 1. Yeah. So, that's it from me. As I said, I'll finish up one last thing. So, I'm in a position where I haven't been making much content, and it's not always as well the content everyone wants to see. You know, there's a bit of 3D printing stuff coming. I've sort of got myself into a bit of a tiz of I've ended up with a couple of products appearing at the same time. I don't like being in this position where I have these bounce with 3D printers. I love looking at printers and reviewing printers, but I don't like to be under this pressure to get them out the door. Oh yes, Voltara Gen 2 firmware rewrite. There's a few things I need to talk about next week. That's probably one of them. I have been struggling with drone and FPV content. I will get my ass into gear. We will be back. I'm just finding it hard when fuck all works. Is the truth. When I'm sitting here and going, this doesn't work properly. It's really frustrating. They're here on the bench in front of me. Sky Zone, HGLRC. I've done all the latency testing on all the systems. The latency testing's done. I have been doing stuff. Don't get excited. It's all shit, basically. Sums up FPV right now. It's all shit. It's quite pessimistic, isn't it? We need to get... The Flash Forge is on fire behind me. What I can tell you is the print is not gone. I have found a quirk already. It ain't gonna be that. That I can promise you. I really want to get the Chapito out. I'd like to get the Chapito out with one of these systems. I just don't trust them, and I don't want to lose the Chapito. That's where I'm at with it. I'd like to get these on the Chapito. Yeah, that's funny enough. It's Impulse. That's what I need to do. The new firmware, and that's going to be quite easy because I can load it into the Protoss, get the Protoss charged, and go test. Has Ascent fixed stuttering issues? That is coming. There will be a video on that this week as well, because that's a nice easy one I can get done. We'll do the updates, we'll get it out, and see if it's any better. Yeah, the table is not great. The table is... yeah. If you've got the money, pony up for the snap maker. That's where I'm leaning on saying. Do a couple of reviews of Guinness. Yeah, it's... yeah, definitely the Ascent. Now the firmware's dropped. I'm going to try and do that tomorrow. I got the RadioMaster video to finish, and then we'll be over the line. Right, that's it. Look after yourselves. Thank you for spending time with me. Please do consider checking out the links to my Patreon as well as buying me a coffee, because we're getting no views on the channel. And yeah, without content, you don't... man, it changes. Tell you what you do see. I can see why people shit out content. I know people say you don't want to make content that isn't really good. If you don't put content out, my God, the channel does this. Honestly, it's like a ski slope. The second you stop putting out content, it just goes woo, down a cliff. It really does. So, RadioMaster video probably tomorrow or Tuesday. Ascent video will be coming this week. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and I will speak to you soon. Need to find the button. Will that printer fall off the table? You will find out next week.